Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Dum, dum,
Hi, I'm Patricia.
dum,
Before recorded history, humans knew singing as a deep source of power. Power to change, power to heal, power to be present with what is. Right here, right now, we are remembering the ancient gift of song, using modern tech to help us tap into resilience and capacity in chaotic, difficult times. Welcome to the 175th episode of A Breath of Song. I'm so glad you chose to do this today, which is extra special because Melanie DeMore is joining us for a songwriter conversation. Hi, Melanie, welcome.
Hello, how are you, my dear? It's good to see you, and they can't see you, but I can.
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah.
are here to find more ways to sing songs that help us heal, adapt, and grow. Each of our voices is exactly what's needed for this. I'm coming to you straight from my home in what is now called Burlington, Vermont, on the unceded homelands of the Abenaki people, on sand plains between the Winooski River and Lake Champlain. Melanie, do you want to tell us where you're calling from?
I am calling from Oakland, California, and this is the land of the Ohlone Ramaytush people.
All our voices will turn up as they are today, and no matter what, we can feel the connection to our breath and the vibration in our body. Let's find how good it can feel to sing. Last week I shared Melanie's song Standing Stone. Today Melanie will be teaching us Lead with Love. We'll learn it slowly so it can settle inside you. You can begin to trust it as a resource. Let it move you into a state of flow. Then we get to enjoy a conversation with Melanie, which I am really looking forward to. We'll close out with the song again at the end. You'll always be able to find this episode with full show notes, artwork, etc., in the library of songs at abreathofsong.com. Let's start with a good yawn stretch. Maybe roll your shoulders a bit, stretch into your back. It's the middle of the day for me. It's morning for Melanie. Do whatever feels good in your body. Find some space. Allow the breath to release. We're going to just slide some ooh sounds up and down your spine. Just see how that feels. Ooh. And a v sound. How about a z sound? Beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to turn it right over to Melanie to share the song. Take us in.
All right, Lead with Love. Would you like to know the story of the song first before we do it? Yes, well, this song called Lead with Love, I wrote the day after the 2016 election. And I was in Minnesota getting ready to premiere a large stick pounding piece. That's one of my specialties, is the music of the Gullah South Sea Islands of the U.S. And we were doing a piece line, oddly enough, called Sanctuary, which was good. So I was working with two high schools and two middle schools and the professional and community group of Vocal Essence. So one of the high schools and the middle schools was in St. Paul's, the other in Minneapolis. And St. Paul's is there are more folks of color that live in that area. I walked into the middle school for our rehearsal, and of the kids, two of the black kids stopped me before I went in and said, Miss Melanie, does this mean we're going to be slaves again? And I was like, okay, babies, we need to talk. And I walked in, and most of these kids are kids of color, and Hmong kids, kids with Hispanic background, and black kids. And, the Hispanic kids thought that they were going to come and take their grandma in the middle of the night. The kids were terrified. And that's because all the adults around them were just upset and terrified. And so I said, we need to talk. And I walked in to them and I said, first of all, you need to know that they're going to have to get through me to get to you, that there are more people with you than against you.
Mm.
And then I've been an educator for many, many years, and I really believe in telling and talking with kids and youth about the truth of the matter. So I talked to them about the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, which happened in 2013, which is why we're in the mess that we're in now. I talked to them about the Electoral College being based on race and class. And I said, that's where you see all this red in the middle. I said, but what I want you to think about is people like Martin Luther King, um, Mandela. I want you to think about Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez and Malcolm X and King, all of these people, Gandhi. All of them started their movements out of the love of their people, not out of the hatred of someone else. And that's why you got to lead with love. So I went on, did my rehearsal. Later on in that same day, I was going to be the guest musician at a church in Edina, Minnesota, which is like the richest part of the state, at a church called the Good Samaritan Church, and they call themselves the Good Sams. So me and George Philip Schultz is the associate director of Vocal Essence, the other choir, and he was their music director, and his family was the only black family in that church. When GPS and I walked into that rehearsal, and it was like 65, 70 people there in the choir, they took one look at us and just started weeping. They were so upset. And I had written Lead with Love in between those two things, and they were the first ones to sing it. And then a friend of mine says to me one day, she said, you know that song you were telling me about? I don't remember it. Can you like throw a little video up on Facebook? And I did. And it went viral. And the song is now sung all over the world. You just never know. But that, for me, that's the power of song right there.
Mm.
And folks, the song is sung in prisons and in churches and in the street and by all kinds of people. And folks have talked to me about, oh, we want to add verses. And I'm like, don't add verses. Because I wrote that song so that anybody, no matter who you are, what your politics are, where you come from, what God or whatever it is that you worship, anybody can sing it. And as soon as you start naming names and putting things in there, you make one less seat at the table. And the song is meant for everyone to have a place.
Mm.
So that's where the song goes. And so, you start out, I like to have people clap along with it. Okay? And the chorus is when I go into a place or a rally or something, I actually never teach it. I just start singing it. All right? So if you're out there with me, we're going to do the chorus, which is this. You always start out with your hands clapping because that's the way everything should start. Something like this. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. That is the chorus. Now we're going to do it together. All right? We're going to keep going. Clap your hands and just throw your hands. When you say put a lot of energy on that. Here we go. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Okay, we'll do it again 2 times through. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
And you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. All right. So that's basically how the song goes. And then you have the call and response in the middle. Now, I'm going to teach you a couple of different parts that you can do under the chorus. Now, The thing is that when you're doing this, particularly as a song leader, if you got other people singing with you already that know the parts, that's great, but never stop to teach the song. Just sing it. That's the whole idea. Let people jump in, they'll pick it up, and as long as you have confidence in what you're doing, you'll be good. So, for in the chorus, the way that I do it when I do this in a group is the first chorus is all unison, like we just did. And then you have the call and response, which is call and response. That's it. Then we come back with the second chorus. The second time we do the chorus is when the low part comes in with this. You gotta put one. That's going already. Then you have the low part. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot in front of the other one. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. Lead with love. You gotta
Put
put
one foot in front of
one
the
foot, 1 foot
other
in
and lead with
front
love.
of the other
Put
one. One
one
foot,
foot in front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot.
and lead
Lead with
with
love.
love.
Again, you got
Put
one
one foot
foot,
in front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot in
and lead with
front
love.
of the other one. One
One
foot,
foot in front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
So that is going on while you have the other people saying you gotta put one. And the thing is, it's real greasy. You want it to be real greasy and funky, right? So you have a nice swing. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot in front of the other one. So you want it to be cool like that. So that's what happens in the second chorus. You add that part. And then once you sing that part, if you're singing the 1 foot, you sing it all the way through. The only time you sing unison is the first time, and then if you're singing that low part, it's all the way through in all the choruses. The next time, then you have the higher part. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot in front of the other one. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. Lead with love. Now that one is tricky because you have 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot in front of the other one. Oh, yeah.
In
It's
front
greasy.
of
It
the
is greasy and
other
funky. And what will
one.
happen is that there's a clash in the harmony parts, which is really intentional because, first of all, family, my singing family, life ain't always in a major key. And so you have to be willing to sing through the dissonances, not go around them. And understand that sometimes that crunch is real good when those
Yeah,
notes collide together.
yeah.
So, where I forgot what key we're
You
in now.
gotta
Anyway,
put one. You gotta put one foot in front of the
okay.
other.
1 foot, thank you. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot in front of the other one.
One
One
foot
foot,
in front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with love.
love.
You gotta
And so
put
those
one.
are all of the harmonies there
Should we try
with
that
the
one together? If I
sure
sing
one
you gotta put one foot and you sing the other one? The
sure
upper harmony?
1, 2, 1.
You gotta put one
One
foot in
foot,
front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot in
and lead with
front
love.
of the other one.
Put
One
one foot in
foot,
front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with love.
love.
You gotta put
One
one foot
foot,
in front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot in
and lead with
front
love.
of the other
Put
one.
one
One
foot in
foot,
front of
one
the
foot, one
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
And that's how all the parts go. And the thing is, you want to keep that clapping energy. And when you start the song, start with a clap. So you always, and it's always on one, one, two, three. And you want to keep that driving part. That's how you get everybody lined up right from the beginning.
Mm.
And generally, I just start with a clap. I don't say, now we're going to sing this thing. I just start clapping, and then people will get it. And that's how it goes.
How about if we sing it the whole way through with all three sets of the call and responses, but
Okay.
I'll sing the melody each time, and
Okay.
you can do like the low harmony the second time and the high harmony the third time. And the people who are
Okay.
singing with us who are listening, if they
Okay.
join in on the low harmony, then they can stick with it the third
Okay.
time.
So
I'll
we're
just
gonna
sing the
sing the thing.
melody. I'll just hold
Okay.
that melody part each time. But you won't be able to hear me. This is the trick,
Of
folks, because
course. Okay.
Melody can't hear me because we have to mute because there's a lag for us.
Yeah.
But it'll
Okay.
line up for people who are listening.
Okay. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on. You gotta put
One
foot in front of
one
the
foot,
other.
one foot in front of the other one. One foot, one foot,
and
lead with love.
You gotta put
One foot, one
foot
in front of the other one. One foot, one foot,
and
lead with love. Lift up your eyes.
Lift up your eyes.
Don't you despair.
Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
Look up ahead.
The path is there.
The path is there. You gotta put
One foot,
in front
one
of the
foot,
other,
one foot in
and
front
lead with
of the
love.
other one. One foot, one foot,
and
lead with love.
You gotta put
One foot,
in front of
one
the
foot,
other,
one foot in
and
front
lead with
of the other one. One foot, one foot,
and
lead with love. I know you're scared,
I know you're scared,
and I'm scared too.
and I'm scared too.
But here I am, right next to you.
right next to you.
So you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
So you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lead with love. Lead with love and lead with love. And then you clap.
Woo! Yes, indeed.
Great.
You feeling
Okay.
awake now? I'm feeling awake now.
I've been awake, so
You've
we're
been
good.
awake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Melanie, it is such a great honor to me that you are here in your 71st year.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Huge.
Mm-hmm.
So Lead with Love is such a fabulous song for so many people and groups. And you've already talked about what you hope people pay attention to when they carry this song.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to say about that before we go on?
Well, I think one of the things that's really important is to, again, make sure that there's a place for everybody.
Mm.
Our job, especially, is to make sure that there is a seat for everyone. It's their job to sit down in it, but there has to be a space. And there also has to be, and this is really the hard part, their only qualifications that they must have for sitting in that chair is just breathing. We don't have to agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the hard part. Yeah.
So you, as a Black song leader, you walk into spaces that are mostly white a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not every group that you lead, but many of the
Mm-hmm.
groups that you lead, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you told me lately that you've been called to visit red states recently. And
Mm-hmm.
tell me how you tend yourself. You're talking about making the space for somebody to show
Mm-hmm.
up. How do
Mm-hmm.
you tend yourself to have that space inside yourself, that kind of compassion?
Well, I think you have to really be committed to doing it, because it isn't always, it's actually hard a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that it's kind of interesting. I go into places where everything about me, who I am, is threatening to them.
Mm.
And that's all right. When I go, it's funny when people ask me to come to, I work with, first of all, I work with everybody from Baptist to Buddhist. So every spiritual practice, literally, from the African Episcopals to the Zoroastrians. I mean, everybody, I work with everybody. And the thing is, people ask me, they say, so how is that possible? And I say, because my work is spiritually based, not religiously based, which is very different.
Mm.
And so for me, it's important that there be radical inclusion. And sometimes that means that it's going to be people that are going to rub up against you or who'll be really, really afraid. And you just got to like sing your way through it and
Mm.
understand that music is that one bridge, is a very, very powerful bridge because you can get people connected before they even realize that they've been connected.
Mm.
And that's why I don't teach
Mm.
songs. Even if I'm doing a community thing, there's never paper. We learn it right there in the spot, and that's what we do. That's where there's no paper, so that there's no barriers. Because again, people say, "What do I have to do to sing with you?" I say, "Are you breathing? If you're breathing, good. Let's go. I got you."
Tell me what your earliest memory of singing is, your personal earliest memory.
Hmm. Probably when I was a kid. Both my parents were brilliant singers, and my mother was one of the first Black women offered a vocal scholarship to Juilliard back in the 40s, and she did not take it. I'm exactly like my mom. She did not want anybody to tell her what, when, where, or how to sing. She just wanted to sing. That was it. You get into conservatory and they kind of own you, and she wasn't having it. She just wanted to sing. And
Yeah.
educationally for her, history was her thing. Singing was her life. History was her thing.
Okay.
And both my parents met singing. They met in the choir.
I understand that they founded one of the first black theater groups in Alaska in the
Yeah,
1960s.
in the 60s, yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell me more about what they were like to grow up with for you?
Well, I'm the oldest of five, and they were just themselves. And my father grew up deep in South Carolina. My grandfather was a minister. My dad was the oldest boy of 14 children. Because my grandfather was a minister and spoke to his congregation about certain things, the Klan didn't like it. And so they would come to the shack and threaten my grandmother would send all the kids to the back of the shack, and then my dad and my uncle would sneak and look out the front, and they could see my grandfather standing on a porch with the Klan guys on their horses and their hoods with their torches. Yeah. And then my mother grew up in New York City, so she was completely different. She's half Filipino, half black, and lived in New York, and boarded a Jewish community, so my mother spoke Yiddish. Yeah.
Gives you lots of different home places, home. How does that feel? Do you
What
feel
do you
like
mean?
that you have lots of different threads
Oh,
joining
many,
in you?
oh,
Yeah.
many different threads,
Yeah.
and growing up in the South Bronx in the 50s and the early 60s in New York, our neighborhood was actually about 10 years after we left, they completely plowed it down. My whole neighborhood was completely plowed under, which is what they did in New York back in the urban renewal when things
Urban
were so
renewal,
bad.
right.
They just wiped out whole
Total.
whole neighborhoods. But yeah, and my father joined the military, although he didn't really like it. But he joined the military. Him and my mom made a decision to get us out of the South Bronx.
And that's what took you to Alaska?
Hmm.
So, how did you find your way into music making as a way of life, as a
I don't know.
financial way of life, too?
It just was the way that it was. I mean, I'd been started studying piano when I was 5. My mom scraped together the $5 so that I could have a piano lesson every week. Like I said, I was the oldest of 5, and it was just in my world so much. When my mom and dad when we were in Alaska, we they sang in the Anchorage Opera Chorus back then. and they would take me to rehearsals. And I remember once going, and my mom and dad, they were rehearsing, and my mom was sitting next to me. I was there at the rehearsal at the concert hall, and my mom points up and she says, "See that woman right there? She's really important to us, and you need to pay attention." You know, when you're like 9 or 10, you're like, "Yeah, sure." So I said, "So, Mama, who is that?" And she said, "That's Marian Anderson." And so, so years later, I went, "Oh, that was Marian Anderson." So, yeah. So things like that, they were really, my mom. This was my dad was in Vietnam, and so we were still in Alaska. I think, yeah. My mom walks in one day, and I had saved up all this money to buy a guitar, $14, and I had saved up all this money, and my mom walks in with this record, and she said, "I think this is something you might really like, so I want you to listen to it." And it was Simon and Garfunkel.
Was it
So
bookends?
she,
Yeah,
uh, well, they're the one that has Sounds of Silence on it.
yeah,
Anyway, so because of the guitar and the singing and
yeah,
all of
yeah.
that, so that's how my mother was. She would just say, you need to watch that person, listen to this. So they exposed me to a lot of, I mean, they sang German lieder, and then
Yeah.
they also did, and they did a lot of theater. We always used to have cast parties at our house, especially when we lived in Texas. We had our cast parties right there. So after Daddy got back from Vietnam, we went from Anchorage, Alaska, to San Antonio, Texas. It was absolute hell. First of all, it was like almost 100 degrees.
Yeah.
The humidity was outrageous, and it was the year when, how they have every 17 years with the cricket infestation.
Yeah.
It was that year, so everything
Oh
was
my.
the sound of the
Oh,
cicadas, and
cicadas. Yeah.
you're like ankle deep in
Oh.
cicadas when you're walking and you're
Oh.
driving open your crunch. It was miserable.
What grade were you in?
This was 1968, so I was just getting ready to start high school.
Oh.
It's
Oh.
horrible.
Yeah.
And my father was an absolute wreck. After 2 tours in Vietnam, he was an absolute wreck,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, and that's how we ended up in Texas. And they once, we got settled there in Texas, they were doing theater again, singing in church and doing all that. That was the first thing that they would do once we got everybody in the quarters. They would find places to sing and stuff like that. Yeah.
Did that help your dad?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
My mother helped my dad. Yeah. I mean, they
Yeah.
always sang together. That was just part of life. So we always had music around. So that
My
was.
grandfather came back from World War II, um,
Hmm.
and what my mother said about it when he came back was that he had changed.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
I think with my dad, my father was always, my mother was his interpreter the whole time. But first of all, my dad was probably about 6 feet, and he probably, I don't even think he was 150 pounds, maybe 160 pounds. He was skinny as a
Skinny.
rail.
Yeah.
And I remember we hadn't gotten into our quarters yet. And my little brother, we stayed at this $3 motel, literally. It was horrible. And and Eric went out the door, and the door slammed, and my father hit the ground and just shaking. And my
Oh.
mom said, "We have to be really quiet around your father." And so, we did. And the thing is that when Daddy got back from Vietnam and all of that, when I was in high school, at an Army high school, Fort Sam uh, High School. So what was the name of it? Robert G. Cole High School. I think we had 135 people in our class, and 134 of us had a father or a brother who'd been to Vietnam. So our whole class we were very anti-war, which was really interesting for people.
Yeah.
But we saw things that most people in America did not see.
Yeah.
And when I was in, my mom and was my scout leader, and we would go to the hospital and hang out with young men who were not that much older than we were,
Wow.
that were dealing with all kinds of things that most people can't even imagine. And we were teenagers,
Yeah.
but we understood because we saw the result of what happened, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually to folks after they came back. So
And it
we were
sounds like your
very
yeah,
anti-war, which is unusual for an army high school.
yeah.
But we knew what was happening. So yeah.
It sounds like your mother was giving you ways to be empowered even at that point. You know
Oh,
that
oh,
you
all of
could
us.
help, that there were things you could do that
Yeah,
could help.
yeah. We were raised like that very much.
Yeah.
And my mother, she gave me all of that. I was 19 when she died.
Oh, Melanie, I'm
She was
so
only
sorry.
43. Yeah,
I
you
am
know, it
so
was one of
sorry.
those things. First song, the first funeral I ever sung at was my mother's.
Mm.
And I wrote a song called Lady of Peace and I sang it at her funeral. And I wrote the song the night before she died.
Do
So,
you remember it?
of course, it's recorded. People can call me up and I will call their mother and sing it for them. It's
Mm.
called Lady of Peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so I wrote that song and sang it at her funeral. And Mama died in August. I had just turned 19 in June before that. And I'm the oldest of five.
Wow.
So music has always been that thing. So, and of course that guess that planted the seed for the work that I do with threshold choirs. If folks, I don't know if folks are familiar with the threshold choirs, founded by Kate Munger.
Kate Munger. Kate Munger's. I've done a couple of her
Uh-huh.
songs on the podcast,
Uh-huh.
so
And
people will
she's a
have heard
founder.
those and
Yes.
seen links. Yeah.
Yes. She's the founder of the threshold choir, which they're now, I don't know, I think there's almost 300 threshold choirs around the world now. And this is the 25th anniversary this year of the Threshold Choir.
Big.
You call up members of Threshold, they'll come to your house, the hospital, and hospice, and sing for you and your loved ones. And it costs you nothing. And if you need somebody to come every day for 6 months, somebody will come. And so, I guess I started way back then doing that kind of singing. You know, there's so many different ways that you can use your gifts and your voice.
Yeah.
And threshold singing is one of those things. And it's not just singing for people that are the threshold of dying, whatever threshold it is. I mean, I've sung for people who were in palliative care. I've just gone and
Mm-hmm.
sung. Or threshold singers will sing if you have to put a pet down.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come and be with you and sing for you then. Or if somebody's going through dialysis or chemo or anything like that. I've sung for people who were getting an MRI and one of those little things.
Have
Um,
people sung for you?
I just had a wonderful experience. I got an award from the Children's Music Network,
Mm-hmm.
which, if you work with kids out there, people, the Children's Music Network is an extraordinary organization that it's all the people involved write or perform music for kids. They also have done a lot of research into songs that have been traditionally sung, taught to children that are really culturally are not appropriate. So they've done all this
Mm.
research. So if you wonder about a song, you can connect
That's
with
the
the
place.
Children's Music Network and they will help you deal with that.
Great.
So if you're working with youth, because so much music and stuff out there for kids is just stupid.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, they do not treat children with the respect that they're due. They can handle a lot of things. And you can teach them a lot of things through music, but you need to make it interesting and cool, you know? Because they'll pick it up. I know I used to, I was a director for 9 years of the Oakland Community Children's Choir. 428 first, second, and third graders. Just imagine. For 9 years.
All at once?
All at once. Sometimes we would rehearse in chunks of 100 and then we'd put them all together.
Chunks of a
Um,
hundred.
Chunks of 100, yeah. And then put them all together. hmm And I would write most of their music. And my piano accompanist, who is brilliant, by the way, he would say, "Don't you think this is really hard?" And I'd say, "Only if I tell them it's hard." But if I say, "Sing this," they'll go, "Okay, Miss Melanie," and they'll sing it. I said, "But if I tell them it's hard, they won't get it. But if I just say, 'Sing this,' they'll get it." So I wrote a lot of stuff that was very rhythmic and cool, and it was all very topical. That was really important to me with the kids, because they know what's going on, and they would say, I had one little kid say to me one day, Miss Melanie, when I grow up, and I said, baby, what are you waiting on? And my policy with them was that whatever their homework, oh, miss, I'd say your job, whatever you learned today in class, you have to go and teach somebody. And they're like,
Mm.
but, we're so small. What? I said, you know something that somebody else doesn't know. You are now beginning to practice being an ancestor. You got to go and teach what you learned. So they would go and teach a little song or part of a song to somebody in their family or somebody that they knew.
Mm.
Because, it's like empowering them from the jump. It's really, really important. And this when the kids said to me about when I grow up, the song I wrote for them that year, because it was always for Martin Luther King, so there was always a part of that whole theme. But it was we don't have to wait till we grow up, gang, 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 to make a better world, gang, 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 gang. So listen up, and have you heard? We don't have to wait to be great. No, 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 we don't have to wait to be great. We don't have to wait to be great. Ganky, 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 ganky. So yeah, like that. And my band was made up of middle school and high school kids in an after school jazz program.
Very cool.
So yeah, so they had all of these. That was their whole thing. You don't have to wait to be great. And because of King's whole thing of connecting with other people, there was and I always involved ASL sign language and all of their stuff too,
Hmm.
so that they were communicating on three dimensions. So they were singing, they were moving, they were signing, and it was all a very visceral experience, so that they could feel the music in every different kind of way. And so they had a verse, because I always do sneakerage, a little educational sneakerage, you know. So they go one, we know one and one, two can make a change while three and four can do more. We know five and six can make a difference when seven or eight cooperate. We don't have to wait till we don't have to wait till we grow up. Oh my God, I'm telling you, they
That's
they
fabulous. That
they
sounds
so
fabulous.
yeah, so I would write music that made sense,
Yeah,
that they could use in their life,
yeah,
and also was really fun to sing. But I never said to them it was hard. I just said, sing this,
yeah,
you know, because that's how adults are, they're like, because they just start thinking instead of doing. And
yeah.
so with me, that's why I don't teach a song when I go do a thing, unless I'm working with a choir and that's what we're doing. But if I do a community sing, I don't teach it. We just sing.
Mm, mm,
And that's like, it's kind of like, if you, as a song leader or a person like that, you just make it, you compel people. So within the first 2 seconds, they're like, I don't know what's going on here, but I want to be a part of it. And let them just jump in. And you, as a leader, you provide the floaties so they don't sink to the bottom.
mm-hmm.
You just provide that and say, let's go. That's it. That's the thing about Leave It Love. Let's go. It is not complicated. You just have to be willing to go. And that's what's really important.
There are some people on who listen to this podcast who maybe are just beginning to find their voices. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they've been told they can't sing. Maybe for whatever reason, their voice has been
Mm-hmm.
closed off to them.
Mm-hmm.
What do
Mm-hmm.
you say to somebody who says to you, "Oh, Melly, you don't want to hear me sing"?
Oh, people say that to me all the time.
I'm sure.
And
What
I
do you
said,
say?
I say, you're already singing. And I'm already hearing you sing. I said, do you remember the first song you ever sang? And they said, well, and they'll say a song. I said, no, baby, you came out, the first sound you ever made was your first song. And you have the right to sing. And anybody, I mean anybody, and listen to me clearly, who says to another human being that you should mouth the words, stand in the back and not sing, You need to go into another line of work. I mean, maybe not everybody's going to make their living as a singer, but everybody has a right to sing.
Yes.
And as a director, you just have to figure it out. If you're doing a community choir, you need to realize that you're going to have some people who may have a hard time carrying a tune.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as they're carrying their heart, figure it out. Figure it out. And also, you can tune choirs like you can tune an instrument. You can tune it because everybody hears differently. So sometimes if you move a person to a different place where they are in the
Mm-hmm.
choir, they'll do a lot better. You just experiment with their stronger hearing side, and then you, if you listen, you can figure it out. I've tuned choirs with 100 people in them. You just make a place. Now if it's a professional choir, that's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, everybody, if you're doing a community, everybody sings, and that happens. I've had people tell me after a community saying that I haven't opened my mouth in years, and I sang,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that is the most important thing.
Yeah. I've heard the same thing.
That's
And
the
you
most
see
important
people
thing.
light up.
hmm
Yeah. When you feel empty or exhausted, what fills you up?
I just, what's interesting is that I am a four-star card-carrying introvert, and most people would never know that. So I am pretty good at knowing when to take care of myself. I don't feel empty very often. I feel tired,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel empty. I just got back off the road. I was in South Africa with a Obia opera. I was away for 7 weeks in South Africa in Toronto, Canada, as musical director for an a cappella opera called Obia Opera. All women, about Tituba. And for those who don't know, Tituba was the first woman tried and accused in the Salem witch trials, and she was a black woman from Barbados. Of course, you don't learn that in history, but that's how it goes. So this story, this opera is about Tituba. And I am so honored to be the music director because it's 78 pieces of continuous music. It's 2.5 hours.
Wow.
My cast sings everything all the time. Whether they're changing costumes in the back, they're singing. They're on the sidelines singing. When they're in the wings, they're singing. And it's brilliant traditional African dance. It's trippy. So I was with them till the end of August. Then, since then, I've been on 9 trips between now and the last couple of months. So I just got back from Indiana, working with some wonderful singing organizations there. And it's interesting because Indiana is the place where the Ku Klux Klan is founded. A lot of people think it was deep south, but that's not true. It's Indiana. And one of the people who was driving me between one place and another said, this town, we will not stop. We will just keep driving through it. So I realized that that's part of my work is going to places where you might not go to because it might be a little scary. But I think those are the places, and the folks that live in those places need the infusion that song and hope can give you
Mm.
in those places, particularly. Because a lot of folks need to realize that there are folks boots on the ground doing incredible work in places you would think it's not happening, and they need juice. So I go. I think I'm going to be going to Florida. I know I'm going to be going to taking a bus going through the Sea Islands. So I'll be going, I think, to South Carolina and Georgia. So, yeah.
So when you're touring, do you find a way to be alone sometimes?
Oh, of course. Yeah, because I always, I don't do homestays at all.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell folks, to send me the schedule because a lot of times I go and I do a residency at a place.
Mm-hmm.
And I have worked with every age group. I've taught at universities. As I said, I work with every kind of church. I've done work in prisons and juvenile detention. I can do all of that stuff. Just because I can, do not schedule. I mean, there were years past where I'd have 6 different things in a day. That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, so those are I take care of myself. I'm pretty good at that. I figured
Yeah.
it out over all the years. And when I forgot to tell you that when I did the thing with the Children's Music Network talking about people singing to me, they gave me this award. It's called the Magic Penny Award, which is that a
Malvina
Malvina
Reynolds.
Reynolds song?
Yeah.
Song, yeah. And so they give a an award to. So I think I've gotten one. Uh, Ella Jenkins, who just passed. No, what's her? Oh, she just Bessie Jones
Okay.
from the Seattle. So I'm like in. I couldn't believe first of all they wanted to give me the award, but they don't just give you an award. They did a concert, probably an hour concert of my music, singing to me.
Ah,
That's never happened before. It was beautiful. It was just beautiful. Yeah, it
I'm
was
so
it was
glad. I'm so
it
glad
was
you
really
got to
sweet.
soak that in.
It was really, 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 really sweet. And there was a couple that did one of my songs that I recorded, and the wife was a student of mine. She was in the Oakland Youth Chorus when she was like 13 and 14 years old, and her husband is part of the Children's Music Network. And when she found out that I was getting an award, she came with him. And then they sang, and it was just so sweet. And I had made a recording over the pandemic with All One Tribe Collective, which is a collective of Black songwriters. And we did a whole recording of songs for kids called the All One Tribe Collective. And I had never met any of them in person, and they were all there. This was just a couple of months ago, and they were all there, and it was
Oh,
so nice. And I was the elder on the project, and we got uh, nominated for a Grammy. And yeah, I've been fortunate. That was my third time to be nominated for a Grammy. And they were so excited. And I said, first of all, not winning is not losing, because you get to be a Grammy nominated artist for the rest of your life, no matter what.
yeah.
I said, so just realize that and don't worry about all the rest of it. And they all went, and I was like, I have no desire, you know. But they did a whole showcase, and I sent, I don't know if it was a video or some kind of a recording, and apparently it had such an effect on them that they talked about that at the award thing. And I don't even remember what I said. Somewhere I must have it in there. That's like 50,000 things ago. But it just touched me to hear them sing the music back to me. It was so beautiful. It really, really was. That was touching. And yeah,
So you have
it's
had
out.
people sing to you a little bit. One
Yeah,
hour.
yeah, that's great. It's funny. I do a lot of singing for people. I so much don't need people to sing to me. That's not necessarily what I need. So
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
great, but it's just that's just the way it is.
When you turned 70, you launched a very special GoFundMe. Can you tell
Yes,
us
I
about
did.
it?
And by the way, it's going really well. A very special GoFundMe because I want my spot in Taos, New Mexico. I wanna buy a little house in Taos, and I'm actively working on that right now. And Taos is my heart's home. It's where my heart feels the most at home.
Do you know
And that's
why?
oh, absolutely, I know why.
So tell, are you willing to tell us?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. First of all, there's a couple of things. First of all, it's gorgeous. It's high mountain desert, which I really, really like. I'm a desert person, not a water person. Taos is about 45 minutes from the Colorado border. It's way north. It's huge sky. It is wide open. It is very powerful place. It's one of those places on the planet that is sort of like a natural spiritual vortexy kind of place.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's just the sky is a particular color blue. I helped a lot of my friends build their houses there. I worked with I worked a lot on the Pueblo with the Concha family, which is the drumming dance family on the Pueblo. And also, I think one of the things that makes it so extraordinary. People say, "Oh, I was in Taos and I went to the reservation." I went, "No, there's no reservation in Taos." And they said, "Well, no, I went to the Pueblo." I said, "The Tewa have always been there. Taos Pueblo is one of the oldest inhabited places in the U.S." Said the Tewa have always been there. That is not a reservation.
Right.
That makes a difference.
Yes.
It makes a huge difference that those folks have not been displaced. And they had Blue Lake was their sacred place that was taken away from them, but they got it back. So they have all of their sacred places are pretty much intact. That makes a difference. And it's interesting. There aren't a whole lot of black folks there, but it's very culturally rich. So whatever your culture is, whatever your roots are, is really appreciated there because I mean, it's in the dirt there, it's in the soil there. So you have the Tewa, you have the Spanish folks, you have the New Mexican folks, and all of that. And everything is low to the ground. One of the things I love about northern New Mexico, I believe in Santa Fe, which is the capital, the rule is you cannot build anything that will obstruct the view of the mountains. And in
Mm.
Taos, there's no tall buildings because you can't obstruct the view of the sacred mountain
Mm.
with a big building. Just they won't give you a permit. So I mean, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
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 I have a lot of friends there. I have people that I've done music with there. I literally taught every kid when I was living there. I was a music director at the Taos Community Auditorium. Me and all the directors were women. I was the musical director. Marjorie Malone was the choreographer, and Judith Halevi, I think that's not her last name anymore. She was the theater director, and when we did the Wizard of Oz. I had 80 munchkins, ages
Love
three to
that.
eight. 80, ages 3 to 8, and they got to paint their own costumes. Even after all of these years, and most of my munchkins are grown up and munchkins of their own, they're still paint splotches at the TCA. where
That's
where they
so
got to make their own.
that's
Oh my God, there
fabulous.
were munchkins running around
Mm.
everywhere.
Mm.
When we did Grease, every teenager in Taos was in it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of original music and a lot of hands-on creativity. So yeah, it's just the coyotes, the buffalo, and women seem to thrive there in Taos much more than men.
I love thinking of you coming to a place like that.
Yeah, and I need to like be able to go and just breathe and then come on back out into the world. So
Yeah.
that's my goal. We're getting that. And it's happening. It's happening. Hmm.
There'll be a link to it in the show notes, just in case
Oh,
anybody's listening who hasn't had a chance yet to contribute
oh, sweet.
to make
Oh, I
because
love
what a
that.
beautiful thing to have to be able to help somebody get to a place that means so much
Yeah,
and stay
it's
there.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a realtor who's just checking things out, and I was just there a couple of weeks, maybe about, I don't know, one of those trips in the last bit. But
Starting to
yeah,
blur.
yeah, oh, easily, yeah. One of the problems, and it's a thing I'm going to really be working on a lot, this is things happen one right after another, so I have no time. When I got back from South Africa, 5 days later, I was on the road again.
Mm, yeah.
So I hadn't even gone through the time change, and I've had weeks where I've been in 3, 4 different time zones in a week, and my body is like, wait,
Enough.
where are we? What's happening? Who
Yeah.
are you? Wait,
Yeah.
that the bathroom that you're thinking about, that was yesterday. That yeah, that's happened. Wake up in the middle of the night and go, wait, where? Oh yeah, oh yeah, that was the other night. So it's like that. Yeah.
So I had a question for you, but it might not be the right time to ask it.
Hmm.
It might need to wait until you've had some more sort of settled time. I was wondering if there are questions that you feel bubbling up in you right now, questions about as you're coming into this new year, if there are things that are rising for you. But maybe you're not at the point of really knowing what those are at this
No, I
point.
mean, what I do know is that I am going to probably be very busy for the next few years.
Uh-huh.
And so I just have to, I'm really preparing myself. And and being able to take care of myself the best as I can, because I think a lot will be asked of me. And I think that anybody who is interested in connections with other people, it's really important that you use the gifts that you've been given where you are, right where you are.
Mm.
Um, because we can feel really, really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And the heart, it is so much easier to hate and shut people out. It's easier than sitting down with them. It's easier. It's much easier to hate than it is to love. And not that mamby-pamby kind of blah 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 love, but that fierce kind of love that goes through there, that cuts through the bullshit. It's rooted. It's not this, it's not that.
Yeah.
Like that fierce, 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 fierce dedication to love and determination. And to realize, you think back, it's like you think back about King and about Mandela and all of those different folks who never, and they had to fight, because you have to fight to stay connected to your heart, because the anger and the fear can overwhelm you. So you have to actively be awake and saying, okay, whatever happens, I am filtering it through my heart and through love. And that ain't easy. It's not, and not that, one foot in front, lead with love. That is hard. It is, like I said, much easier to hate somebody's guts.
I remember reading that Gandhi took a day off, like Thursdays, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He took every Thursday off to just
Mm-hmm.
sit,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
he said, the British Empire, taking down the British Empire can wait while I
Yeah.
have time to
Mm-hmm.
reconnect, so that he could do it from a place of love rather than from a
Yeah.
place of hate.
You have to take some times of stillness, or just doing something that has nothing to do with what your life work is doing.
So I'm curious. So now we've gotten to know each other a smidge over Zoom,
Sure.
and people on
Uh-huh.
listening on this call have been listening to you.
Uh-huh.
And what is something that if we met you in person, we would learn about you very quickly that we don't know because we're doing this through audio?
You would know that we are connected to each other. That's it. You may not know why, but no matter what, we are connected to each other in the blood. And that's just the way it is.
And we would
And that's
feel
something
that.
that you would know, and you would feel
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, because it's the truth.
Mm.
And even in all these hard times, and even with all of this stuff that's going on, and it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but we've been through a bumpy ride
We can
before.
do this.
And not only that, but I'm a black person. This is none of this is new. None of this. We're like, and let's go. Because sadly, considering where we live, there was no way in hell Kamala was going to win. Not in this country. Just wasn't going to happen.
Mm.
Just wasn't going to happen. And so she was brilliant in what she did in the time, and maybe in another time, but maybe not in my lifetime. But I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I was not at all shocked or really upset, because I knew this is what we're going to have to deal with. And that's just it. We got to keep doing the work and not get worn down, because the one thing they want us to do is to lay down on our backs and give up. And that is the thing we absolutely cannot do.
Or to get really angry and hateful so that it can escalate more.
Yeah.
Because
And
there's
it's okay. I mean, anger is not a bad thing. It's only becomes a bad thing if it keeps you stuck in the same place,
mm, mm,
because you can't make a change from a place of anger. You can't. That's just anger. You have to use it as fuel, but you can't let it use you. And that's the thing. Anger is a legitimate thing. There's no doubt about it. Because if it spurs you on to make a change and to do something, that's a really good thing. But if you're stuck in it, it doesn't do anybody any good. You know. But you gotta acknowledge your anger and your fear and your dread and all this other. Go ahead and just feel all of that. But you can't stay there, because you can't change anything if you stay there.
yeah.
Don't deny it. Just don't drown in it. Mm, yeah.
Tricky line to walk.
Very tricky line
Yeah,
to walk. And you have to make that commitment every day.
yeah.
I think that's the thing that a lot of folks know, particularly in my ancestors and in my time, and Black folks know in general that the fight never ends.
Mm, mm.
That you have to recommit every day. And a lot of times folks think, "Oh, I'll just send some money and then I'm done." You know. And thoughts and prayers, you know, if you don't have some energy behind that, if those thoughts and prayers are not backed up with change and determination and dedication and moving forward, I don't care. It means nothing. It's empty. Empty thoughts and prayers, please.
Yeah,
It's empty. And so it's a matter of action, you know. It's a matter of action. And if you see something in your community that's not right, do something. And you have to acknowledge also that my well-meaning white progressive friends, you have to acknowledge the fact that privilege is a fact. White privilege is a fact. And the thing is, here's the thing: is first of all, I mean, some people mean, and I get this, unless your name is BB or CC, I don't want to hear no whining. Somebody might get that, but you might not. Uh,
I'm looking kind of blank at Melanie right now.
yeah. So you know how a lot of folks, they'll cry or they'll say, "Oh, woe is me," and they're whining. BB and CC are gospel. BB and CC Winans are gospel singers.
Oh, I
So
see.
unless your name is BB or CC, I don't want to hear no whining.
Whining. Got it. Thank
A lot
you.
of people, you have to know
Thank
what that
you.
is. That's what my students call those misdemorisms. But and it's really important that you understand that none of us choose the skin that we're born into, but you can decide how you're going to walk around in the skin that you're in. And so you just have to decide to put your skin on the line. We have no choice. Part of white privilege is you have the choice,
Right.
and you have to decide not to hide because it's really easy to disappear. That's part of privilege. You can just blend in and disappear. So you have to make a decision not to do that. And it's scary as hell. We know because we got a target on our face all the time. We know how scary that is. But you have to, it's like making a commitment every day. All right, I'm going to be scared shitless. I'm going to do what I have to do anyway.
Mm,
And to speak up to your peers.
mm.
Really speak up to your peers. You know, don't call us, call each other. Really call each other because you know what's right and you know how to do it. And we can't make a change, any of these changes, without you. We need each other. We've been doing this for generations and generations, and we're still doing it,
I think
but it
that's a
won't
beautiful
change.
call. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
call for everybody to
Hmm.
realize that it's something that it's a problem that has to be solved from a bigger place than any
Absolutely.
one group of people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Especially in our country here
yeah,
with the
yeah,
Great Divide.
yeah,
We have to. It's going to take all of us, not just one group.
yeah.
So and that's the
With
thing that we can
huge,
do is
fierce love.
that's right. I mean, like fierce love. Go
Yeah,
back and think
yeah,
about what John Lewis. They were beating the
yeah,
crap out of that brother,
yeah,
and he just stood back up.
yeah,
And I wrote a song. What was the one that was on the album with the All One Tribe Collective, and it's a song that's based on the words of John Lewis, but it's written for kids. But that person, you talk about leading with love always, and his anger was also filtered through love, which is really different.
mm, yeah,
That's different.
yeah.
Anger filtered through love is really different than anger filtered through hate. It's different.
The anger
And
by itself, I remember hearing somebody say anger is a flag that you see an injustice, that you
mhm,
see something that's
mhm,
not right, that's not
mhm,
fair,
mhm,
just by itself.
mhm,
Yeah. And then whether that becomes something that you act on through hate or
Mhm.
through love. That's a
Mhm.
choice that you make.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a choice that you have to make over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there, I mean, I grew up in times where things happened to me, and I remember my mother, I would just be furious and furious. And my mother would say to me, yeah, don't do to them what they do to us. And that is mean wrap us up in all one thing. She would say, that person, that is an individual person. They don't necessarily represent all the people that look like them.
Mm,
Over and over again, you know,
mm.
over and over again. I'd be just like, people would spit in your face. So you have to deal with that, you know.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so I mean, and my dad growing up with the Klan and all of that, my folks never talked to us in a way that would keep us separate from other people. They would always say, those are individual people, you know. So they didn't preach this, hate and fear. That just wasn't their thing. My mom would say to me, like, she said, they can do all kinds of things to you, but they can never get to the who you really are in your heart. That was she. I remember her saying to me one day, I was just twisting and twirling about something, and she said, "Stop, lie down on the couch. I'm just vibrating. There's so much stuff going on. I'm feeling so overwhelmed." And I'd say, "Mama, I got to do this. I got to do that." And she said, "Baby, there's only two things you got to do: stay black and die. Everything else is negotiable." Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I just, huge kudos to your parents
yeah,
and to you for taking it in
yeah.
and transmitting it in your Melanie way, your special way, and sharing
Hmm.
it with so many other people.
My
Just
pleasure.
respect to you
Thank you.
for that. Do you want to go into lightning round questions?
Sure, let's go.
What's an album that was really important to you?
One of the first albums that I bought of women's music recording, Something Moving by Mary Watkins on Olivia Records.
Great. What is your
Hmm.
favorite soup?
Favorite soup?
What is your favorite
Okay.
soup?
I'm not a big soup person, but if I was to, split pea.
We're going to put Melanie down as thinking that question is not really necessary for this interview.
Yeah, yeah.
What is a sound that you feel strongly about? Could be one you love, could be one you hate, but one that you feel strongly about.
That sound of a coyote. When I hear that sound in Taos, I love that sound.
Yeah.
And I have a really interesting little story about that. My best friend, one of my best friends, Margaret Ness, who's a brilliant visual artist. And if you've seen my album in the Mother House, that painting on the cover
Yeah.
is Margaret Ness.
Fabulous.
She also, there's a song on the album that she wrote, "For You I Sing," is
Mm.
that's Margaret Ness wrote that. So anyway, Peg has a little place up in Lama Mountain, and she sent me a picture, and she was playing my music, and a coyote just came and sat in the front yard and listened. That made me really happy. She said the coyote's just standing out there listening. I'm playing, I'm playing in the mother house, and the coyote's just sitting in the yard listening. I love that.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Who is an artist you wish more people listened to?
Fidi Mako Black. Fidi Mako Black is Maori from New Zealand. Has one of the
Okay.
most exquisite voices ever. In Fidi Mako, it starts with a W. In
Okay.
in 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 Maori, the WH is like a V sound. So
Okay.
Fidi Mako Black. WHIRIMAKO Black. Fidi Mako Black.
Great.
What a voice. Oh,
Uh,
we almost met. She's one of she's just extraordinary. Yeah.
so from me to you to Phoebe Mako Black.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Before we close, where can we find you and follow your projects? If somebody wants to
What?
invite you to come as you are out working, doing your work, where would
Uh-huh.
they reach you?
A lot of people, I know what I'm doing on my on Facebook. I'm not a, I mean, people still use that, and I'm on what's that other thing?
Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah, but also people can just they can send me an email, and that's how people get in touch with me, and you can do that, and
You willing to share
that's
your
how you
address?
my email
Your
address. Yes.
yeah.
Melanie DeMore at earthlink.net. That's right, earthlink.net.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. A huge thank you to you, Melanie, for coming on A Breath of
My
Song.
pleasure, Patricia. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing this. How many episodes is this now?
This is 175.
You better work, woman. That's badass behavior right there.
I did
That's
not
great.
think I was going to make 50. I was
Mm-hmm.
astounded when it was 50 episodes, and
Yeah.
here we
And
are.
here you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, and a huge thank you to our listeners. I am so glad
Mm-hmm.
you're singing with us. You can visit abreathofsong.com to see the show notes for this episode with links and lyrics. Patty Piotrowski's glorious artwork. I love partnering with a visual artist. It
I
makes
think that's great. Yeah.
it really beautiful. You can sign up to get the artwork and the music and my musings in your mailbox. You can be one of the generous people who put something in the gratitude jar to help cover costs. Before Patty or I is paid, Tom had figured out we were earning it like 0.5 cents an hour or
Yeah.
something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. 25% is donated to the Jazz Foundation of America, which directly supports jazz, blues, and roots musicians in need. The skill and the artistry of these musicians has directly shaped most of the music I share on this podcast, yet historically they have been inadequately recognized, unfairly recompensed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what prompted me to search out this particular organization for us to support with what comes in from the podcast.
I love that.
Let's sing We Lead with Love again, help it sink in more deeply, because our brains remember
Sure.
when we come back
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Do you want
Yeah?
the whole song?
The whole song, let's do it.
Okay.
Why not? Why not? I
Sure.
think
Are
people
you
will be
ready?
ready.
You gotta put one
One
foot
foot
in
in
front
front
of
of
the
the
other
other
and
and lead
lead
with
with love. Put
good.
one
One
foot
foot
in
in
front
front
of
of
the
the other
other and
and
lead
lead with
with love.
love.
You
You
gotta
gotta
put
put
one
one
foot
foot
in
in
front
front
of
of
the
the other
other and
and
lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
Put
Good.
one
One
foot
foot
in
in
front
front
of
of
the
the other
other and
and
lead
lead with
with love.
love.
Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving
Keep
on.
moving on.
And you gotta put
One foot in front of the
one
other
foot in
and
front
lead with love.
of the other
Put
one.
one foot in front of the
One
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with love.
love.
You gotta put one foot in front of the
One
other
foot in
and lead with
front
love.
of the other
Put
one.
one foot in front of the
One
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
Lift up your eyes.
Lift up your
Don't
eyes.
you despair.
Don't you
Look
despair.
up ahead.
Look up
The
ahead.
path is there.
The path is there.
And you
You
gotta
gotta
put
put one foot in front of the
one
other
foot in
and lead
front
with love.
of the other
Put
one.
one foot in front of the
One
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with love.
love.
You gotta put one foot in front of the
One
other
foot in
and lead with
front
love.
of the other
Put
one.
one foot in front of the
One
other
foot.
and
Lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
I know you're scared,
I know you're scared,
and I'm scared too.
and I'm scared
But
too.
here I am,
But here I
right next to
am, right
you.
next to you.
And
You
you gotta
gotta
put
put
one
one
foot
foot
in
in
front
front
of
of
the
the
other
other
and
and
lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
Put
Put
one
one
foot
foot
in
in
front
front
of
of
the
the other
other and
and
lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
You
You
gotta
gotta
put
put
one
one
foot in
foot in
front of
front of
the
the
other
other
and
and
lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
Put
Put
one
one
foot in
foot in
front
front
of
of
the
the
other
other
and
and
lead
lead
with
with
love.
love.
Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not
Don't
alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
So we gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. Yes, lead with love and lead with
With
love.
love. Yay!
Okay,
Whew! Melanie, thank you so much for coming today again.
my absolute pleasure. Here's what you need to do, people out there. Keep your head up. Keep your heart wide open. Remember to breathe and keep doing the work. Sing on.
I am so grateful that you're taking care of yourself. I think the way we make a better world starts with tuning into ourselves and each other. Which is what we just did. Yay, us. If you're liking this podcast, please share with a friend. And next time, we'll plant another song. Until then, be well.
My pleasure.